Folks, I am super duper excited about my guest today. She's been here before, but she's never been more essential a person for us to speak to today. And I can't wait to get into that. But first, I want to cover something. Okay. I want to let you know that we are going to be discussing the scandal about Kristi Noem's husband. We are going to be discussing the recent SCOTUS decision about conversion therapy, and we're also going to touch on the Donald Trump's announcement tonight of what's going to happen with the Iran war. But first, America is good at a lot of things. In fact, you could probably say that we are great at a lot of things. We have invented things, we brought things into the world, and we perfected them, right? Things like the internet, the computer, airplanes. Those things are proof, are evidence that America, in a sense, was already kind of great. But there's some other things that we have perfected as well that kind of make us not as great. Let's take slavery, for instance, right? Or bigotry and racism. Bigotry and racism helped slavery to continue for as long as it did, as did the annihilation or the near annihilation of the Native American population that was already here when we arrived as immigrants. Let's talk about the demonization, the abuse, and eventual deportation of a lot of immigrants here, many of whom are not the violent criminals that Donald Trump promised that he was going to go after. In fact, he's been targeting kids. He's been targeting old people. He's been targeting people who are in the process of following the legal steps of immigration step by step. He's going after them instead of the drug dealers, the rapists, and the murderers. But let's not also forget the bigotry experienced by the trans community. The trans community currently represents less than 1% of all people living in America. It's a very, very small group. You could say they are our most vulnerable population. And for some reason, this president and the party that supports him has found every reason they possibly can to put the blame on the trans community for all of your ills, for everything that's wrong with your life. It's probably because of a trans person that got to play a sport or got to share a smile or be happy. But today I have a member of that trans community, and she is happy and she is amazing. She is a model. She is an actress. She is an activist, and she is a wonderful person. And she is very knowledgeable. And I'm so glad that I have her here to share with you guys today. And so we have a lot of stuff to get into, and I hope you're ready to get into it, because I am. Let's go. Incredible person, incredible human being. Yes, famous. Yes. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Defiant Weekly. I'm your host, Majid Padelin, aka BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad Defiant. And with us today, I have none other than Plastic Martyr. Welcome, my friends. Good to have you back here.
Thank you. Good to be back. And also a quick thing. My mom loves you, and she's from the Bronx. So she said Bronx Mama sends her love.
Bronx in the house. Tell her right back at her.
I will.
So this is your third time here,
Yes.
Unfortunately, unlike Saturday Night Live, I do not have a 5-timer or 3-timer jacket, but I am nonetheless thrilled to have you back here. So the last time you were here, Biden Joe Biden was our president.
I remember
Um, what a humongous difference. Let me just ask you, right, just off the top of your head, um, how has your life changed? And I'm going to say, I'm going to keep an open mind, either positively or negatively, since the last time I saw you, either both economically and you know spiritually, whatever.
to be honest, I'm going to be completely blunt. This has been the worst year and a half of my life, probably. And that includes when the year, like, I lost a boyfriend, died, my dog died. This has been worse than that year. I lost my home. I've had to leave my state. I lost tons of money. I've lost job opportunities. I've lost my friends, family, relationships. I've essentially left Los Angeles. I sold my home and I went to a place, I'm not going to disclose where, but I'm
No,
in
of
a
course.
safe location where I'm basically just waiting to see what happens, because originally I was going to leave the country. And when he took office, I knew the writing was on the wall, and I have been sounding the alarm forever, saying that if he got back in office again, it's going to be even uglier than his first time. And that was pretty fucking ugly. But this time's going to be worse. And it is. And I knew that. And I knew what I was going to have to do if, God forbid, he won, which
Yeah.
won. Um, so I unfortunately had to uproot, and my entire life, most of my belongings, I just immediately got rid of, gave to friends, sold my house, left my state. I'm in a safe location, currently waiting, basically living out of boxes for the last year and a half. And it's just been a snowball effect of just one shitstorm after another. I hope I can curse on here. One shitstorm after another. And it's just like been brutal. Brutal. And my mental health has been horrible. Like the level of depression that I've been experiencing. Luckily, I just came out of a really deep depression a couple weeks ago, so you're catching me on a good note. But
uh,
it's been really bad. Where like literally my own mother was worried about my safety, and my boyfriend's been worried about my safety, and it's really really scary. So this last year has been a nightmare.
um, can I ask why? Like, what? First of all, why did you move?
Because I wanted to be able to leave at the drop of a hat, because I knew that with his insanity and his executive orders and with his violence and his rhetoric, that I didn't have a huge window. I'm also a Jew, so I know how history, I know what
Yeah.
happens to
Mhm.
marginalized groups.
Yeah.
And those who got out early are the ones who are still alive, well, barely still alive to talk about it today. And those who didn't get out didn't make it.
Right.
So I didn't want to be one of those people that waited too long. And I wanted to have all my ducks in a row. I wanted to be liquid. I didn't want to have anything holding me back. Los Angeles, obviously, California is a blue state, and I'm in another blue state, but I just needed to get out and get close to a place where I can easily leave if I needed to, because of all of the anti-trans stuff. And I'm not obviously the only trans person experiencing that. So many members of my community, and again, let me just point out that I am in an extremely privileged situation. I am an extremely privileged person. I come from money. I have notoriety. I have all of that privilege. And so much of my community doesn't have that. And even for me, who does have all that privilege, I'm feeling it really hard right now. And my heart just breaks for my community. And I just sit in bed and I sob going through my inbox, reading these messages from my fellow trans community, and they're just as lost as I am. They don't know what to do, and they don't have the support of their family. They don't have the financial support. They don't have any of that. So it's really, really scary. And luckily, there are programs like, I know ACLU was doing stuff where they were helping to relocate trans people from red states that were basically essentially making them illegal, relocating them to blue states. But it's really hard for my community right now, and my heart goes out to all trans and non-binary people.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I thought you. I'm sorry. I thought you were living in California, right?
I
And
was.
right, and so like there's probably there are very few states that are as LGBTQ friendly as like California or New York. But are you saying that it was still like a bridge too far, or was this like a preemptive move? Like, were you anticipating some like real heavy drama coming your way?
He took office January. I put my place on the market in February. And already I was nervous because when I was in LA packing up, ICE was already storming the streets. They were showing up at Home Depots. I was getting boxes at Home Depots, and people in the parking lot were terrified of seeing white people, and I understood it. And I'm just like, it made my mother just break down and cry because like people were afraid of her. And it's like it was already happening. You already saw it happening. The Karens calling out any like Mexican person they saw asking for, it was just insane. The switch overnight, it went from like barely a normal society to just this insane alternate universe filled with racism and bigotry and transphobia. And so Los Angeles, for the most part, was fine. So it was a preemptive thing. But again, with ICE, the ICE presence there, I'm really glad I got out in the beginning of that, because if I stayed through that, that was really scaring me. And I know that now, starting April 10th, they're going to begin profiling trans people, apparently, ICE. So that's really
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
That's not I'm not surprised by that. I mean, you saw in my intro how it was kind of like breaking down what America has perfected is the art of scapegoating the most vulnerable population. So at one point, I think it was just like gay men, right? They didn't even care so much about lesbians. It was like
Right.
it was like gay men is what they fixated on, right? But then they expanded their hatred to include the rest of the letters, and then recently it was immigrants, and then they focused in 2024 they focused in on Haitians for some reason, right? Why? Excuse me. Getting phone calls. And so yeah, of course they're just rotating the vulnerable population. So at some point I will be praying for you. I hope they don't come around looking for why would they even, what right would they have to apprehend you or anyone else in the trans community?
I mean, they're declaring, well, they haven't legally, let me just preface with that. They have not successfully declared us a terrorist group, but they want to declare trans people a terrorist group. Also, hello, look at me. I've never even killed a mosquito. Like, I'm a Wiccan. I don't believe in killing living things. I've never heard anything in my entire life. It's baffling to me. And none of it makes sense. Obviously, we know none of it is like rooted in truth or rooted in reason. If you, like you said, going back in history, they're great at othering people and creating scapegoats. So they did this in the 40s and the 50s with the Black communities and integrating, white in Black neighborhoods or whatever. And there's the footage of the little white Karens going, "Oh my God, I'm so scared. What about the children?" They're using the same talking points. Then they moved it to gay men and the AIDS crisis, and everyone's like, "I don't want them near my children." Fucking children. By the way, the children that who was diddling on what island.
Oh
so
yeah.
You care about the children so much, right? And now they're doing it with trans people and immigrants, and it's all just the same stupid verbiage and lingo that they're using, and it's all, what about the children? It's ridiculous. And I think it's time that everybody wakes up and realizes that none of the shit that they're saying is rooted in truth. It's all just a ploy to create fear so they can distract you while they're busy over here doing stuff that's even worse.
Well, let me just share. You have some fans in our audience here. This is Renee saying, "I adore her. She's uplifted me in my journey with the trans daughter. I fear for her safety." Thank you for sharing that, Renee.
Thank you, Renee. Love you.
And somebody else posted here. Joanne Kennedy said, Rosie O'Donnell also left. She left too. She left to go to Ireland because she expressed the same.
Yes.
So, Yeah, let me just before I forget, because I always forget this part here, please. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and also hit the like. Looks like the thumbs up there. Let's get back up here. There we go. Okay. Oh, yeah. So the last time, oh, never mind. This weekend, I thought you were still in Los Angeles, so I figured you were going to be around a bunch of No Kings activities. But just out of curiosity, did you happen to catch any of the festivities this weekend?
Yeah, I went to a No Kings event here in the state I'm at, and the picture. I don't know if you have the picture of my sign. Did you see it?
No.
Okay.
Because you know what, your Twitter, you left Twitter.
I left Twitter when Musk took it over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're only on Twitter?
No, I'm on Blue Sky too. Can
Okay.
I
So
wait? I haven't seen anything lately in Blue Sky because you got mad about something with the Rowling, right? J.K. Rowling. I think you had some
they
feelings
were like
about
censoring trans users on Blue Sky for like getting pissed off at J.K. Rowling. I understand like yeah, if they were using words that went against your terms of service, but like also it's J.K. Rowling. I think we deserve a free pass.
Yeah.
My sign, I don't know if you can see it.
If only Mary Trump had swallowed.
So Mary Ann McLeod Trump. I wanted to specify
because yeah,
who I love, and
that's his mom.
Yeah, so Mary Ann McLeod Trump is his mother, and my thing is, if only Mary Ann McLeod Trump had swallowed, and it was a hit at No Kings.
That is excellent. Did you happen to did you come across anything that gave you hope at the No Kings rally this weekend?
Absolutely, the large, insane number of people who also felt the same way as me, and that was really like, even if those marches don't do anything in the moment, they are extremely helpful for us personally. Like I was feeling, like I said, so alone. Like I felt like just day after day, I'm looking at my phone and there's all these anti-trans things, one after another, and the horrible hate mail that I received, which is all bots, by the way. It gets to you and it makes you feel like you're so alone in this world. And then you step outside into the real world and you realize, holy shit, the whole world feels the same way as me. Like, there was, let's see, one counter protester that I saw, one out of like hundreds of thousands of people like us just marching against. One counter protester is like, Trump rules. We all just laughed at it. We're just like, you're so sad and pathetic. So they're dwindling. And that gave me hope, at least. I don't think anything is going to happen this second. I mean, this administration, they don't care about rules. They don't care what we think. They're horrible. They have the power and the control, and they're going to destroy as much as they can while they can, and they're going to get away with as much as they can while they can, and that sucks. But yeah, I don't know. It felt really good to just be with other people who, thank you so much, Sharon, who, share the same views on life.
I am so glad that you said what you said about feeling alone, and how that March, how the festivities made you feel less alone and more connected. Because, I saw a lot of comments online this past weekend, criticizing the marches. Well, what is that going to do? It's not going to do anything. Trump is still your president, et cetera, et cetera. You're missing the point. The point was not to depose. We're magically having marches is magically going to make Trump disappear from office. No, but it is sending a message to him that he is being rejected. He is being rejected by such a massive group of people. It was like it's almost 9 million people. Who, instead of doing shit on the weekend, like just chilling out in their backyard, having a barbecue or whatever, they got their asses up, they made signs, and they went out to protest him, right? And then the most important thing was it was like a galvanizing event, so where everybody kind of feels connected, and that's more powerful than anything. And as much as they mock it, why do you think they go to those rallies? They go to those Trump rallies for the exact same reason.
And the difference is that they think, what did it accomplish? Because for them, the equivalent of that is storming the Capitol. For us, it's taking to a park with obnoxious signs and coming together.
Yeah.
We're not the violent ones. We're not the ones who are storming federal buildings. We're not the ones who are smearing feces on the wall and threatening to unalive political figures. That's not us.
Right.
So yeah, and again, like I said, it may not do anything in the exact moment. It's not gonna. We're not expecting that it's gonna magically get rid of him the next day. But it's a sign that this is the page that the majority of us are on. You are not alone. We hate you. You suck. And it's just, I love them. It's my third one, and I love them. They're so fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have to go to another one, but I love them.
I think. Don't hold me to this, but I believe the next event is May Day, and I think that's like I want to say May 1st, I think, and that has more to do with like unions and whatnot, but it's still that's the next one here. Yesterday was the Trans Day of Visibility, and I have a tweet here by Mayor Mamdani, who says trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people have always been here, from the I don't know how you pronounce this, Hijra of India to the Dine Nadlihi, to the leaders who built the modern LGBTQIA plus movement here in New York. Your existence is not up for debate. Your lives are not a political issue. We're fighting for a city where every trans New Yorker can live openly, safely, and with joy. How do you feel about that?
I want him as our president. I love him. I love him.
He's so great, isn't he?
I love him so much. Like, that is the message that should be being sent to everyone. Every demographic should feel that way. And I don't understand why it's so hard to just have that concept in your brain instead of just wanting so hard to hurt people because they're different from you. And it's like, we don't own this planet. We're all here for a very short time, and we deserve to just enjoy our life in the short time that we have. And me transitioning hurts nobody. It didn't hurt anybody, and it improved my life. So end of story. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why it's still a discussion. And unfortunately, again, we live in a post-truth reality now where people don't care about facts. They don't care about science. They don't care about any of it. It's what my president told me is facts. What's circulating in my echo chamber, that's facts. Anything outside of that is bullshit. So I can have all day long these discussions with people who don't understand trans rights, and they think that they know it, and they've never met a trans person in their life. So I really appreciate Mamdani setting it straight with the tone, and he's amazing. So
yeah,
Mamdani.
Now you just said that your transitioning didn't hurt anyone, right? But our president said they want transgender for everybody,
right?
I'm going to play a little clip here, and I want to get your opinion about this when we finish here.
Ugh.
Citizenship, that they want transgender for everybody, that they want men in women's sports. So the only way they assume, the only way they can win is to cheat. When you have men in women's sports, it's fine. It's wonderful. By the way, I worked very hard with the Olympic Committee and got that terminated for the Olympics. Very nice. Now, girls won't have to get beat up in the boxing ring like they did last time. If you saw those fights, two people that transitioned beat the hell out of everyone, out of other people, women. It was not a pretty sight to watch.
Name them.
Okay. He can't name them. He can't name them because they don't exist.
They don't exist. They don't exist. And that's the problem, is then, like, people, again, even my own father, I've basically had to stop having contact with because he got sucked into the MAGA movement, and he doesn't even live here in the United States anymore. And I'm just like, what does it matter? You have a trans kid. You saw my journey. You are there. You saw it. You know how it happened. You know, you and mommy didn't indoctrinate me. You didn't groom me. You didn't force this upon me. I did this all myself from as young as 3.5, even younger than that. I was vocalizing that I was a little girl. There's It's baffling. And still, he will bring up this rhetoric. Well, what about? And it's always these whataboutisms that are just complete false bullshit narratives that just came from nowhere, except Trump. Or the transgender mice. Transgenic mice.
Oh, yeah. I forgot
Big
about
difference.
It's so stupid. Yeah.
And that's the thing is these people don't bother going on these devices that they love talking shit on and researching to see what the statistics are. So like as far as trans women in sports, that's such a ridiculous. First of all, there's like, I think 10 trans athletes in the world. Or like in America. I don't know which one it is, but there's like literally like 10 trans athletes out there.
Wow. Is that it?
Pretty much.
You would think there are millions based on the amount of uproar they have about the issue.
There's only 2 million trans people in the United States, I think. So like, it's not that much. And there's really only a small handful of those trans people who want to be athletes. It's not an issue where it's like this horrible thing where every single sports team now has trans people on it. Maybe one random person is trans, and now they're making it like it's this, like he said, transgender for everybody, right? Okay, are you transitioning?
No.
Right, exactly. What do you mean transgender? On one hand, you say
you get a transition. You get a transition.
And or like he's also the thing of this was one that my own father also brought up to me about how they're transitioning kids in schools. And I said, God, I wish that were true because that would have saved me so much time and money in my transition had I just gotten it done in middle school. Instead
they were saying that you could drop your kid off in school one day and you go to pick him up. Your son is now your daughter.
Let me just put it to you this way. Again, I am extremely privileged. I come from a family with money. I don't have to, I didn't have to struggle as much as so many other people in my community. So with that privilege, I was able to begin my journey at around 5 years old. I didn't get my first surgery until I was in my 20s. That's how long it takes. It's not an overnight thing. You have to jump through so many hoops. And legally...
Wait, and that's despite the amount of privilege that you privilege and financial advantage that you have.
I could have offered to pay like upfront for my entire surgery. I still couldn't have gotten them done that day. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how famous you are. You can't get these surgeries. It's so silly that they're making it like you just go to school and you come home a different gender.
Why can't you get the surgeries? Why?
So for one, you have to be 18 years or older in this country. So that's the thing that people are lying about with, trans kids are transitioning. Just because you're a trans kid doesn't mean you're getting surgery. When I say I began my transition, that means social transitioning. That meant just growing my hair out, wearing long t-shirts so it looked like a dress, or going by a different name, just embracing more of a feminine appearance. And then eventually after that, I went on hormones in my late teens. Mm-hmm. And then after years on hormones, I got my surgeries. And even when it was time to get my surgery, I still had to be on a 3-year wait list. Mind you, the surgeon is one of my dear friends. I was on a TV show at the time and I have money. So I still had to wait 3 years to get that surgery. And I still had to go in front of 2 other therapists, get letters of recommendation from them before I was able to legally get that surgery. And you just have to jump through all these hoops. Now, there are very rare exceptions where people under 18 can get gender affirming surgeries. I know 2. In my entire history of being trans in the trans community, I know 2 people who were minors when they got their surgery. One was 16, and that wasn't in the United States, and she went on to win a Grammy, so she's thriving.
Wow.
The other one is my friend who was also on a TV show and got hers done at the very tail end of 17, bordering on 18. But she was able to get that surgery with the, her parents signing off on it. But she was trans also from 4, 5, and now is almost 18. So it doesn't happen at this rate that they're saying. But they want to go after trans minors for getting surgery and pass all these horrible laws that restrict gender affirming care for minors. And then now they're going after gender affirming care for adults. But the only thing that's happening, the only surgery that's happening on children's genitals is circumcision. But I don't hear you guys going after that at all. You don't ever.
Actually, I've actually heard about young girls in their teens getting the boob jobs.
Yes, a few girls in my high school actually for their Sweet 16 got a new rack, and I was very jealous of them. Very jealous. I wanted to be 16 so bad.
Why are people so freaked out about transgender? Why? I mean, it's been around, like, as I forget where I read that. In Mayor Mamdani's tweet. It's been around forever. Why are people freaking out about it?
In some cultures were actually considered like holy in it. Trans people are considered extremely enlightened. You know, we have been around since everyone else has been around. You know, we've always been here. So, and we always will be. That's the thing, is you can't, even if you eradicated every trans person on the planet today, in 20 years, you'll have a whole new batch of trans people, because it's a natural thing that just happens to some people. Like, you can't help it. So it's not something that's taught. It's not a belief system. They tried to pass the whole, you know, transgenderism term. We're not an ism. I'm not an ism. It's not a belief system. To answer your question, I think the reason people have such an issue with trans people in large part is because of all of this harmful rhetoric that the Republicans have spent millions and millions and millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars on anti-trans propaganda. And again, let's link it back to that other genocide that happened in the 30s and 40s in Germany. They did that with the Jews. So the Jews are taking your money. The Jews are horrible. The Jews are going to eat your babies. They're going to rape your women. They're doing the same thing with trans people now and immigrants. And it's disgusting. And the fact that anybody is still, but again, if you're somebody in the Midwest who's never met a trans person and haven't been to Pride, you haven't watched a lot of TV, you don't know a lot about queer culture, and you see your president telling you this group of people is horrible and they're going to come and take your children and give them sex changes in the middle of the night and molest you in bathrooms and defeat you in sports. And of course they're going to be scared. And it's just like, my thing to these people is just meet a trans person. Just talk to me like I'm a human. And I promise you, let me humanize myself. I am not the monster that this piece of shit and self-tanner is telling you I am.
You know, I think that most people don't even have the privilege of knowing one single transgender person. And so they live in their small communities with other people who don't know anyone from the trans community. And they form their own opinions and their biases based on what their leaders help reinforce, that whole permission structure to be the worst people they possibly can be. Let me take a quick detour.
Yes.
Right. Tonight at 9 p.m., Donald Trump is supposed to be giving a speech about the Iran war. Do you have any idea what you want to take a guess what he's going to be saying?
Well, it's going to be a lot of how wonderful he is, how he's never seen anything like this before in his entire life, and at levels we've never seen. A lot of, in 2 weeks' time, something will happen, and then he's probably going to shit his pants at some point, and then talk about how horrible the Dems are.
Joe Biden.
He will blame Biden for whatever hemorrhoid he has at the moment. And he will also, without a doubt, bring up trans people again, because we live fucking rent-free in that man's orange little skull. So,
I guess. So my guess, this one here, most people are saying that he's talking about ground troops. And this thing here is saying rumors are building around a possible ground invasion of Iran. I happen to be scrolling through Twitter. Polymarket's prediction thing is saying that he's going to announce the United States withdrawing from NATO. And I've actually, from based on what I've been watching on TV, that sounds it seems as likely as anything. I mean, he loves Vladimir Putin.
Yep.
And he's right now big mad that nobody respected him enough to come to come bail him out for the war that he started. He started a war, and now he expects everybody to put their own people at risk for a war that he hasn't even briefed anybody on it. There's no goal, there's no objective, there's no exit strategy. There's, and so everybody in NATO is supposed to send their kids to die for this question mark war.
Yeah, I say we send Barron first.
Yes. Yes. Put some skin in the game.
Yeah. He's a scary giant. He'll be fine.
He's very tall, isn't he?
Very lurchy. Oh dear.
Oh yeah. So last night, let's start. This thing blew up yesterday, right? Kristi Noem's husband was exposed, I suppose. I don't even know how they got his information. Actually, I do have a clip. Maybe this will shed some light, because all of a sudden these pictures of him wearing fake breasts were everywhere, and he apparently has some kind of fetish. Somebody was calling it bimbofication.
Yes.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah. Not for me, but yeah. There's people who have the bimbo fetish. I've seen it on TikTok before. Actually, that's where I learned about it.
That's funny. I was yesterday years old when I first heard that term. Yeah, I'd never heard about that before.
Yeah. And I believe what I heard is that it was an immigrant sex worker that he was paying like $25,000 a month to do stuff with, that she leaked it. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on it, but that's what I heard.
I had it, and now I don't. Let's see. All right, so I don't have the shh. I don't have the clip, but in any case, that thing blew up like crazy yesterday. And then Kristi Noem, of all people, Miss Cruella de Vil, had the audacity to say that she wanted privacy and prayers.
Oh,
privacy and prayers for this. Like, I'm sorry, are you not the same person who was standing in front, who, first of all, who shot your dog in the face,
right?
But who also stood in front of a bunch of prisoners with a fancy Rolex watch on your wrist? Miss Cruel, the pinnacle of cruelty, and you want us to give you some privacy because your husband, is sporting bigger bazoombas than you? Is that what it is?
Yeah, which there's so many layers to this, which I haven't actually publicly spoken about this incident yet. So I'm really actually happy to get to talk about it on your show. Because I have been quiet about it, and I've had a lot of people messaging me saying, yo, like, where have you been? Have you seen the thing about Kristi Noem's husband? Like, I haven't known about it. But I have a very different take than most people. So I feel that, yes, we should be calling out the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is hilarious. Like, when I first saw it, I think it was on like Here's Kevin, or I think that's who I saw their first post, and I like laughed forever in the comment section at the hypocrisy. But I've still seen so many people, and I'm talking about so many people on our side, that are just shaming him for being a crossdresser. And that part I still have an issue with, because I don't want to shame him for that, because there's nothing shameful about being a crossdresser. And unfortunately, all of the derogatory remarks that they're hurling at him on the internet and all the jokes they're making only hurts trans people, queer people, crossdressers, whatever. Now, trans and crossdressers are not the same thing, but we're often clumped in, and it's, neighboring communities. And I don't think what he's doing. Like, I feel bad that he feels so much shame that he has to do this in the privacy of his home. I think that, you know, being married to a bird-legged hoe like Kristi Noem, that has to be rough, especially if you are a closet queer person. I don't know.
Does that make him closet queer then?
Well, I mean, he's doing that in the privacy of his home and behind closed doors, and you know, obviously he feels shame by that. He's not, you know. So I feel bad that that aspect is being shamed and villainized. That, you know, there's something wrong with him exploring his gender identity and that gender spectrum. I don't believe in kink shaming people. To a degree, I think it depends on who you are. But again, I feel like a lot of the verbiage and wording and the insults that people are throwing at him, it ends up hurting innocent communities of people because people are labeling it as something that should be shamed and shameful. I think the hypocrisy is the part that should be played up because constantly, time after time after time, we see this with Republicans where, you know, they are anti-gay, but we find out they have a secret gay lover. They're anti-trans, but we find photos of them cross-dressing. They're X, Y, and Z, but they're, you know, it happens all the time. And even in some cases where it's like so dangerous because there's so much stigma for being gay. And a lot of these men would want to be with a guy, a boy, right? So they end up turning to like the people in the church, like these Christians, these pastors or whatever, end up molesting young boys because they'd rather be a pedophile than be gay. For some reason in their head, being gay is worse than being a pedophile.
Wow.
And in some cases, not all. I mean, sometimes they're just, I mean, they're all disgusting, but in, you know, sometimes that's their logic. And I think a lot of times it's dangerous. This rhetoric, this anti-trans, anti-gay, all this like anti-queer rhetoric out there that the Republicans are pushing are so dangerous because it's causing these people to just like be so hateful towards the community publicly because they feel so much shame and hatred for themselves. So those are the scariest kind of bigots, the ones who doth protest too much, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here with Brian, what's his name? I keep seeing Brian and
I want to say Byron.
Okay.
But
so
it could be Brian. Yeah.
Like he's part of probably one of the most horrific families that I've seen in a while. Like Kristi Noem and the Noem family are awful.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I don't know much about him, so I don't know where I mean, obviously, if he was asked publicly about trans people, I'm sure he would shit on the community and say we're disgusting and we're freaks. So then this happens.
It's Brian.
Okay.
Hey, Sherry Scary. There she is. Here's how I feel about it. I feel like, you know, to each his own. I don't care what the hell you do in the privacy of your own home. That's your business. Whatever floats your boat, as long as you're not hurting someone, especially children.
Yes.
And with that said, what I do have a problem with are the people who spend all of their time and energy and resources to come down hard on communities who are trying to live their lives and live their best lives. And then they go in secret, privately, to indulge in that same stuff that they are shaming and that they are using all their vast power to condemn. That I have a problem with. So, you know, why don't you guys in the closet, in living in quiet and secret shame, come out of the shadows, step out into the sunlight and help shine some light, help destigmatize this way of life that you enjoy so much, but you feel that you have to demonize others for openly living. Just
look at Lindsey Graham. She ain't fooling anybody, you know?
I just saw Megyn Kelly, who I think is also a despicable person. Horrible. But she came out the other day and she said she's mad that she has to pretend like he's not gay. I thought that was funny.
So
I love it when they eat their own.
Yeah. And that's been happening so much.
A lot. Yeah.
But I think that's kind of like also happening with this Brian Noem stuff, is like they're all just kind of like turning on each other, and it's kind of amazing. It's, I don't know, like, again, it kind of to reiterate in what you just said about how you have a problem with them being closeted with it and then judging people publicly. Like I said before, those are the most dangerous kind of people, because they harbor so much self-hatred that they just want to inflict pain on other people like them because they're so self-loathing. And it's really, really scary. And there's so many of those in the Republican Party that it's very, you can see it every day.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to bring this up here because they often spend, like I said, a lot of time demonizing people who are gay or people who are trans, and they're not even looking in their own backyard at the real threat. Like, time after time, Trump is pardoning these people who end up being child sex offenders. Here's one here: January 6th defendant, excuse me, pardoned by Trump, was just sentenced to life in prison for sexually abusing 2 middle school aged children. Another January 6th rioter. It's all the January 6th rioters. Pardoned by Trump, gets a prison sentence for possessing enormous child pornography collection. Not just a small collection, but an enormous collection.
Yeah.
It's unreal, the hypocrisy. So are you ready to dig into this Supreme Court law that it just was handed down yesterday, an 8-1 decision striking down the law that bans conversion therapy? And let me just read this out for the audience so they understand. Folks, if you're not up on the conversion therapy, I'll have you know that I just read up on it today. Conversion therapy is an attempt to forcibly change someone's sexual orientation or gender identity. It does not work, and studies show that those subjected to it or who choose to undergo it are put at a greater risk of depression and suicide. Can I get your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So conversion therapy is horrible. Horrible, horrible. I know many people who were forced when they were younger, their parents sent them to conversion therapy. It doesn't work. It only makes you hate yourself more. You're at a higher risk for suicide. It's horrible. So we want conversion therapy banned, obviously. What happened yesterday with the Supreme Court, it's very murky, and I didn't understand it at first. So I really dove in today and tried to get a better understanding of it. And from what I understood and what I gathered, again, I'm not a lawyer, so this is very difficult to understand, but SCOTUS did not strike down all conversion therapy bans, right, per se. So they didn't exactly overturn the ban for conversion therapy. Even in Colorado, they didn't overturn it. It was a therapist named Kaylee Childs who brought an as-applied challenge in Colorado. So basically, she's saying that she doesn't think that law should be applied to her specifically, not in overall in general, but to her practice of whatever therapy she does. She wanted to whatever. The thing that pissed me off is this was brought to the Supreme Court by a conservative legal group called Alliance Defending Freedom. So it's basically the conservatives' version of the ACLU, which I love the ACLU, by the way. But they are the ones who brought the case. And basically, I think they wanted that case to pass in the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to overturn that or whatever. So it would make it easier to do more of these blanket bans or overturn these bans on conversion therapy, because that group is for conversion therapy. I don't exactly know what this woman's therapy is. In the thing, it's called talk therapy. So she was saying that she thinks she should be exempt from that because it's not exactly conversion therapy, that her clients come to her willingly. But again, when you're a minor and your parents drag you there and you say, pray the gay way for my child, it's not quite at their own free will. But it's not a facial challenge. So the facial challenge is basically when it's an across the board ban. And this is more of an as applied challenge. So at the moment, they said that in the thing, it said that the merit hasn't been decided. So it's not like completely, I don't know, it's very fuzzy and complicated, but it's not that the Supreme Court overturned the ban on conversion therapy. So yet we should still be up in arms about it. We should still be talking about it, and we should make sure that it doesn't get worse than this.
That you're saying the ban is still in place, in most states then?
In, I think, 23 states, it's still, bans are still, there's still conversion therapy bans in 23 states and in DC. And Colorado still has conversion therapy bans. This was not an overturn on the conversion therapy, is from what I gathered. It was just a specific thing for this woman to get an exempt for her therapy.
I was very confused by it because it was an 8-1 decision, and the only person who stood against it was Ketanji Brown Jackson. I do love her too. I do love her. So, when in doubt, I'm going to go with whatever she's in favor of. Although I seem to recall last year she did something questionable, but I'm not going to focus on it. What I do want to focus on is this conversion therapy thing. The biggest harm that it can visit on a person is that it makes them feel self-hatred. And I feel like you told me at some point in one of our conversations that like the rate of unaliving of self-harm is particularly high in your community. Is that correct?
Around 41%.
Oof.
But let me just specify, a lot of people use that as like oh, you guys are mentally ill and you're not happy transitioning and you end up killing yourselves. That's not true. The 41% statistic is people who can't transition or who are feeling stigma and shame from their families, loved ones, society, stuff like that. We don't kill ourselves because of who we are. We kill ourselves because of how the world treats us in our everyday life. People make it impossible for us to live. And especially like trans people who are newly transitioning or not as passable or whatever, they're bigger targets, and they're just constantly treated like shit in this country and in this world. And it's horrible. So that 41% is a reflection of society treating trans people poorly, not that trans people are unhappy being trans. Because the regret rate for transitioning is 1%. The regret rate for having children is 10%.
Wow.
So the regret rate.
I love how you have those statistics at the ready. I love that.
The regret rate for marriage is higher, for children is higher, tattoos, knee replacements, you name it. It's all higher than the regret rate for transitioning. And as somebody who transitioned, I got to tell you, I have no regrets, not one.
I want to play in our last conversation. You said something that really touched me, and I want to play a clip from that here. It's there are 416 anti-LGBTQ bills that have been introduced in state legislatures. The Tennessee's legislature gave trans youth 1 year to detransition. I don't even know what that means. How do you detransition?
You don't. That means that Tennessee just set it up so that all those people will end up killing themselves. Tennessee is literally one of the most problematic states at the moment, but leading in the top. This bill that, holy shit, my hair. The way they set this bill up, I gotta stop for vanity. It basically sets these people up to fail. Because, okay, let me just tell you personally. Let's say that law was passed when I was growing up, and I was forced to detransition, which means presenting as male and no longer allowed to be the person that I identify as. I would have 100% killed myself. So I know exactly what those kids are feeling and what those people are feeling. And the difference between not being allowed to be who you are and wanting to end your life versus being allowed to be who you are and feeling so completely euphoric and free in your own body and soul. I don't know why you would try to set it up
to make these people want to hurt themselves and end their lives simply because you don't understand them.
I still stand by that.
Give me chills.
Yeah. It's sad, but it's true. Like, and again, like I was saying earlier, this past year has been the worst year of my life. I've lost so much of my life, the life I built for the last 20 years in LA, my career, my friend. I lost it all. And now I'm scared in hiding. And I'm constantly seeing that my country is trying to come for me, to erase me. So those suicidal thoughts that I thought I put to bed years ago, they have reared their ugly head. And I have been more suicidal this past year. Don't worry, I'm not actually going to do anything. More suicidal than I've been probably since I was a teenager, before I was able to get hormones and surgery or whatever. Like, it's really scary because the thought of going into, so here's the other thing. They want to put trans women into men's prisons.
Ugh.
So they're making it where ICE can now go after trans people, profile trans people, whatever. And we know what they're doing with that. They're just taking whoever. There's no due process there. They don't care if you're a citizen, if you're not. If you're just a bag of money to them. They're getting paid for each person they bring in. The prisons are privatized. They're getting money. They don't care. They just want to fill them up. These concentration camps is what they are. So now that they're going to be adding trans people onto that, where do you think they're putting us? And for the record, TMI, I have a vagina. So you're going to put me in a men's prison with a vagina? Like,
I remember you told me about that surgery there. Congratulations.
Yeah. And despite what people think, they think you just cut it off. You don't cut it off. That's a whole other lie. They use 93% of it. A penis and a vagina are very similar. It's all the same parts. Just one's an innie, one's an outie. So, I have a vagina. And if you put me in a men's prison, what do you think is going to happen? So, and I've already been raped, so I don't want to go down that road again. And that's terrifying. And I would rather die than go through that. So I would rather die than to have to be forcibly detransitioned in prison too, which is what they're doing. They're taking trans people off their hormones. They're not giving them access to their hormones. They're making trans women like shave their heads and wear men's clothes and stay off their estrogen. And it's horrible what they're doing. So I would rather be dead than go through that. I'm sorry, I would. Like, I had a good run, so that's where I'm at now. And it's really scary and it sucks having to think that way. And I have these conversations with my mom all the time of my exit plans and backup plans and who to call, what to do. And I never thought in my entire life that I would be going through that right now. And so many people constantly say to me when they hear me like crying or screaming from the rooftops, what's happening? Yeah, but how does that affect you? Are you kidding me? How does it not affect me? They're like, you're in a blue state, you're passable. The cis people love bringing up the passability thing, which I hate because that shouldn't determine whether somebody's respected or not.
Right.
They're like, oh, but you've already had your surgery. So, right, exactly. So if anything, that's almost worse for me because I've already had my surgery. So right now I'm anatomically female. And if they put me in a men's prison, if you take me off my hormones, I don't produce any male hormones anymore either. So I would literally get like osteoporosis and eventually die. My bones would break if I didn't have access to my hormones. So it's really scary. And again, these people are not smart. They're like, Trump obviously is a fucking idiot. RFK Jr. doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. And they think they know better, but they're also deleting all the research that doctors and scientists have gathered for years and years and years about trans people. They're erasing that because they want to fill everybody's heads with all these lies and these narratives that we're horrible, we're dangerous, that gender affirming care hurts people, when really it saves our lives.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel like the Democratic Party is doing enough to address these particular concerns? Because these to me are terrifying. I'm not trans or anything, but I'm terrified for you. I'm terrified for anybody who would have to undergo that kind of ordeal, or anyone who's going through it right now.
Very few. The Democratic Party, I am going to have a big talk with once this is all over. as a lifelong Democrat, it's been really, really sad watching how kind of spineless a lot of them have been. And I don't know, I've seen like Jasmine Crockett has been amazing. Amazing. There have been so many people in the Democratic Party who have been standing up for us, but not enough. And then there's been people who've been throwing us under the bus, like a Gavin Newsom, who I used to love Gavin. I voted for him. I was a Californian my whole life. I loved Gavin, you know? And now I'm just like, I know what you're doing. I know you're trying to appeal to them and you're throwing us under the bus with the whole like trans, but it's the wording that they choose to use. Biological men in sports. Do you have any idea how fucking degrading that is to constantly be called a biological man? Bitch, I know what I don't need you to remind me every day what my visible DNA says. Like, let us just fucking move on with our lives. That's all we want.
Yeah.
So he constantly is bringing this up and, oh, I don't think we should be talking about trans people so much. Then why are you talking about us? We're 1% of the population. Shut up about us. Leave us alone. We'd rather you leave us alone and forget about us than try to restrict every facet of our lives. Healthcare, sports, jobs, money, names, passports, driver's licenses. Like, leave us alone.
The thing about the men and women's sports thing that irritates me, right? First, number one is that the majority of people complaining about that, they never gave a shit about women's sports to begin with. They're the ones who are like, WNBA, that's a joke. You know, those people who don't pay attention to women's sports at all, but suddenly they're pretending to be these great girl dads who, you know, wait a minute, you know, if the trans population is only 1% of the American population, and there are even fewer people who identify as trans of school age, right? Can you tell me this? When you were growing up and you were in middle school, high school, did you have an interest in, you know, using your genetic advantage in to participate in girls' sports?
I actually was on a girls' gymnastics team when I was like 5 to 7, I think, or 5 to 6, something like some ridiculously young age. And let me tell you, I sucked. Okay, I sucked. I had no future in gymnastics. I was not at an advantage. And I say this all the time to people. I'm like, if you can't see because I'm in a little box right now, but if you put me next in between 5 of my cis female friends and said, which one's trans? You wouldn't be able to tell you. If you said, which one has an advantage? They are not picking me. I'm this scrawny. I'm 5'8". I weigh like 40 pounds wet, you know, like I'm not a threat to anybody. And again, here we go with the false logic. So they're saying, oh, trans women are at an advantage, but we're not, especially trans women like myself who've transitioned young. So we don't, if you're post-op, you don't produce T. So you're not at an advantage. You don't have a higher T level than cis women. So actually my T levels right now, or my hormones in general, are below that of a postmenopausal woman, biological woman. So I'm not at an advantage at all. And pre-op, you're on T blockers. So you're not producing T. You literally are blocking the production of testosterone. So it's not at an advantage. So they're stupid again with this like whole, oh, trans women are defeating women. And then you have Riley Gaines.
Yeah. 5th place.
Yeah. And it's like, girl, you didn't take 5th because of a trans woman. You took 5th because you suck. Become a better swimmer, bitch. I don't know what to tell you. Do an extra lap or two, but like it's not trans people's fault you suck at swimming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think then they're, you know, fine, put in rules. You have to, by weight class, by something, I don't know, do blood testing. Your T levels have to be below a certain level. I don't know what it is. Come up with something, but you can't segregate an entire group of people. We've already done that, and that doesn't work out well. So segregating people again, it's not going to go well. I think that absolutely there should be rules put in place for everybody's safety. But that doesn't mean you ban across the board people from being allowed to exist and being equal and have the same opportunities.
Rules.
Yeah.
You need rules to govern how like what kind of benchmarks a trans athlete has to meet in order to qualify. Like if they have a certain level of testosterone or something in their system, then they're disqualified.
Yep. But they come up with something. But like,
Yeah.
I think they should, I think it should be a trans person working with whoever's making these rules so that you have a trans voice in there. I'm really sick and tired of it always being cis people deciding for trans people. It's like, where's our voice in this? We're the ones who know best.
Yeah.
But it's always a cis person. And I see that even with the media too. It's like something will happen. Like, again, big hug to you for bringing me on today to listen to my voice. Whereas most of the time I see issues happening in the news about trans people or the trans community, and they always turn to a cis person to ask their opinion about it. And I'm like, who the fuck cares what Joe Blow's opinion is? He's not trans.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm sorry it took me so long to bring you back to the show, because over the past few years, like I've been watching all of this stuff unfold on the news, and it just makes me so mad because people are ignorant, right? And when they don't know something, they tend to fear it, right? Because if they don't know or they don't understand something, it's foreign to them, so they fear it. And so they've stigmatized an entire community of people who want nothing more than just the right to freaking exist without being harassed and maligned and attacked. I think there's a very simple solution, not complicated, for the trans community to be, I don't know, welcomed and folded in with the rest of the American society instead of demonized and stigmatized. I think there. I think it all goes back to just legislation and education. I think more than anything else, it's got to be education, like sitting down with you and talking and being able to freely ask you questions about these things. I think ultimately it helps, and maybe it just needs to be more repetition than anything. People think that, for instance, with gay men, right? There was a long time where people thought that that you could choose to be gay, that if you were friends with somebody who was gay, you could somehow catch it, or you could be tricked into it, right? Seduced into it. Like you can't. You pretty much know. How old were you when you knew?
I didn't even know what transgender was until I was like 16 or like around there. I think the first trans person I ever met was 16. I just knew I was a girl. I didn't know what transgender was, but I knew I was a girl. My mom has 2 masters in psychology, specializing in child psychology. And she's very liberal. So I was very blessed to have her as a mom. I started vocalizing it at around 2.5. Around 5 years old is when I started to socially transition. It wasn't like I sat down and decided as a fan. Like I just started to just, Mommy, I think I'm a girl. I want to grow my hair out. I actually want to wear this dress to school, blah, blah, blah. And my mom had real conversations with me. She never told me no, I couldn't, but she would say to me, you can go to school wearing the dress, but kids will make fun of you, or you can wait until you come home and put on the dress. It's up to you. And I would say, I'm putting on the dress, fuck those kids. So I would go to school in the dress, but she always left it up to me and never labeled me, always waited until I decided to say, you know what, I want to change my name. You know what, I want to go by she, her pronouns. I was always the one who made the choices in my journey, and she supported me along the way. But never once was I pushed by anybody, groomed by anybody. I didn't know another trans person. My brother grew up in the same house with me, and he's cisgender and straight and whatever. So it's not like it was, there was nobody in my family. It was just who I was. And I watched these home videos. My brother just digitized like all our old videos. And we're watching it, and I didn't realize, because I hadn't seen those videos since, I don't think I ever actually saw those videos. And I'm like watching myself as a little kid, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it just like brings tears to my eyes, because I'm like, it's so clear who I was in these videos with my Barbie doll, and just me always on my tippy toes or singing and dancing while my brother's playing with his GI Joes and his guns and whatever, and I'm over there with my Barbies, and we just are who we are. And it was so cool seeing my brother being him and me being me, and we both were exactly who we were. And it was just, that's who we came into this world as. So I knew as young as 2.5 and started at around 5.
What do you say to people who say that transgenderism is a mental illness?
I say, you don't know what you're talking about. It's not a mental illness. Like, it's also, here's my thing with that. People who love to use trans as a mental illness, what kind of a fucking person makes fun of people who has a mental illness? That's my question to them, is who the hell actually makes fun of somebody with a mental illness? What kind of a horrible human being do you have to be to mock somebody who has a mental illness? That's first of all. Second of all, it's not. It's been like, it was in the whatever the hell, a DHS or whatever it is, a while ago. They said gender dysphoria was a mental disorder, mental illness, a mental disorder, whatever. But it's not considered that anymore. So yeah, being trans is not a mental illness.
And before you transitioned, how long were you in therapy? Like how many years did you spend, talking to a therapist about your gender identity?
None. I had to go to therapists to get my surgery. And it was funny, when I went into those therapy sessions with those therapists, I actually ended up teaching them how to work with and talk to trans patients, because they were complete idiots, these people. I went to, like, I was just appalled. I'm like, the questions that you're asking are so insensitive. And then I started to coach these therapists on how to actually talk to trans people, because there was just back then no education on it. It was the blind leading the blind. Even when I got my surgery, there was no information on what happens, what to expect, so we kind of went into it blind. But I never really was in therapy as a kid. My mom's a therapist, and I was a really happy child. I wasn't a sad kid. I was allowed to be me, and that saved my life. And that's basically what I try to tell people, is like, it wasn't being a trans kid is only sad and horrible if you're not supported. But if you're supported and you're able to just exist as you're happy. And I was such a happy kid. The times when I wasn't happy was when I felt like my identity was being challenged or squashed or harmed in some kind of a way.
How did you deal with I'm assuming that when you went to school in a dress, that there were some kids there that bullied you or made fun of you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How did you deal with that?
I beat the shit out of them. Literally, they bullied me once. That was it. I remember this one kid. Oh, this was fun. I remember this one kid was throwing shit at my head, like in cafeteria. This is in high school. And I was like really goth, and I whatever. I like had black lipstick on and black eyeliner, and my hair was like straight and black, and I was wearing fishnet tops and like a dress or whatever, and big platform boots. And he's throwing stuff at the back of my head, throwing the F slur around. And I'm just like sitting there, twiddling my thumbs, waiting. Him and his friends are laughing, thinking this is so hysterical that they could just bully me. I'm not doing anything about it. The bell rings, and I watch as this kid goes into the bathroom. And he went into the bathroom alone. So I walked in, and that was the only time I've ever been in a men's room. I walked in, and he opens the stall, walks out, and I grabbed him by the throat, and I slammed him against the wall. And I basically like reamed him and said, if you even so much as ever look in my direction again, I will. I can't say what I said. But and then later on that day, I was at a supermarket with my mom, and the lady in front of us turns around and she goes, you go to school with my son, right? And it was that kid's mom. And I said, yes, I do. In fact, tell him I say hi.
That's funny.
He never bullied me again.
And I'm sure he put the word out too.
It happened quite a bit with them. It was always one of instances. What was insane though is worse than the students were some of the staff that bullied me. The principal, horrible, horrible man. Some of the teachers were horrible. They, there was issues with me eventually using the girls' bathroom because some of the like conservative Christian parents would complain about that. And my mom had my back and went in and said, look, she's not using the men's room, the boys' room, whatever. Like, she doesn't feel safe in there. And she's constantly being harassed and bullied by some of those other little shits. So she's not going in there. They ended up making me use the janitor's room, which was...
That's dumb.
Yeah, they thought it was like, oh, a solution, but it just put a bigger target on my back because every time I got up to go to the bathroom, all the kids would make fun of me and make little jokes about me being the janitor or whatever. It was just like so stupid. Or like, I remember some of the parents were horrible too. One time, this woman pulled her kid out of class and said because she didn't want her kid sitting next to me, pulled the kid out of class. I hope your kid is fucking flipping burgers now and got a shitty.
let me bring something up to you that I think there are some people who are concerned that like everybody who is trans isn't necessarily passable, right? So there are some folks I've seen who identify as trans who, let's say, have like a lot of facial hair, like almost like a beard, right? Like not even almost, but they identify as female, but they have all the facial hair, right? Bald head, no wig or anything. If someone who presents that way, and then goes into a woman's bathroom, they're going to get some pushback.
A lot,
right? Yeah, so
very big.
What is the solution for that? Because there are people who think that think that's a dude who's just wearing makeup so he can corner somebody in there and overpower them, whatever. And I would personally, I don't think that that's an unreasonable fear if you see somebody who, just to be honest, just looks like a dude, right? You don't know what their story is. So what is the solution for that? For,
I've rarely ever seen a person who seriously identifies as transgender sporting a beard willingly. Again, it kind of goes against the whole psychological aspect of being trans. It's like, for me, if I sprouted a chin hair tomorrow, I would freak out, cry, and immediately book an appointment for laser, because it would just be so triggering for me. It would fuck with my dysphoria. I don't even think I've ever really seen a trans person who's Spartanophobia. Sometimes like non-binary people do. And in those instances, I think you do need to understand both sides. Like, while I would not want you to be harassed in a bathroom, and I would absolutely have your back if somebody was giving you shit in the bathroom, you also, I think in that instance, do need to also be considerate of the other people in that bathroom and their reactions or whatever. So I don't know. It's a really fuzzy situation. Again, I feel like maybe because it's become such an issue, which it really hasn't, because again, I don't think I've ever, maybe like twice in my life, have I run into another trans woman in the bathroom. Like, and I'm not talking about in like West Hollywood. Of course, everyone there is a doll, but like in life, out in the real world, I think I very small handful of times have ever run into another trans woman in the bathroom. What I have noticed recently is an upswing of cis women who present masculine being called out in bathrooms. And I'm sorry, that is very sad and not funny at all, but it's hilarious for me because I'm sitting there washing my hands and I'm just like watching this shit go down. And I'm like, you have no idea, do you? They're going at each other. You're a man. I'm not a man. I'm a woman. You're a man. You get out of here. You're a man. And I'm just like, and yeah, I don't know. I think transphobia hurts everybody. Let me just say that. So I think that is where we're going to be going with it, as I think people are going to start to understand that transphobia hurts everybody. So a lot of these women who are not very feminine or typical looking by society's standards of what they think a woman should look like, they're going to get
Right.
called out left and right. And I think that kind of needs to happen so that we can kind of undo the transphobia.
Yeah. I wonder, actually, I wonder because I see a lot of pictures of, of people who have facial hair but are also wearing makeup. I wonder if if those are people who are trolling us, right? Or trolling the trans community and trying to create more of a stigma around it.
I think it could be. Again, I think a lot of it is there's a spectrum of gender. So while I don't think they necessarily would be transgender in the same sense that I am, they could be non-binary, they could be gender queer, gender ambiguous. There's a lot of different labels, and I mean, I'm still even learning some of them. There's so many different, which again, so many people have an issue with, but I think it's amazing. Let people just be them and learn from them. That's my favorite part of being on this planet and alive, is getting to learn from other experiences, cultures, people, living things. I just sometimes just get really stoned and I sit in the backyard and I watch animals and I'm just like, I'm learning so much from you. And I feel that way with people too. I'm like, why the hell would I want to sit with everybody who's like me? It would be so boring. I love getting to talk to people who I've never met another person like you, or I've never experienced your culture. Like, let me learn about that. Let me know what that's like. Like, I want to absorb as much as I can of this beautiful rock that we are sitting on. And I don't want it to just be people who look like me or think like me or whatever. So I don't get why people are so scared of learning from people who are different from you.
That is an amazing statement, and that's where I'm going to leave this conversation. I can't. Nobody can one up that what you just said there. So, Plastic, I can't thank you enough for joining me again. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you.
And I hope I can have you back on the show at some point.
Anytime you want, I will be back. I adore you.
Thank you, and hold tight. Let me just sign off here, and I'll see you on the other side. And folks, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Defiant Weekly. I hope you guys learned as much as I did today. The thrill in speaking with Plastic Martyr is that she is so knowledgeable and about a wide range of things. And I think ultimately the key to reducing and eventually eliminating the bigotry against the trans community is just education and repetition. But the other side is going to have to be open to receiving it a little. So we're going to get there. And I think we're going to get there because I'm not going to give up. And I hope you guys don't give up either. So I look forward to seeing you guys here next week, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace. Incredible person, incredible human being. Yes, we're famous. Yes.